Ron, are stargates a way for us to eventually travel between dimensions and galaxies? Are there different stargates that are positioned around the world?
Stargates. It's an interesting question. Um, Stargates are associated with physicality. Okay. Our previous question, we talked a little bit about that physicality and what is required for things to become physical. So, if we are in the physical form, then we're not in our natural form, which is spiritual. So there are stargates. There's things like that that have been created for us to travel on a personal basis. We have what is called a Merkaba or a Merkaba, whatever, however you want to pronounce that. It's a it's our own spiritual vehicle. It's our own physical way of transferring ourselves uh, to wherever we want to go. Now, there's ways that you can learn how to do that, and using when you activate your Merkaba, it looks like a spacecraft, and you have the core, and it's in the center, and it kind of moves out. Two people join together, and it moves out further. A bunch of people get together, and it moves out even further, and they can all travel at the same time if they're in unity with where they're going to go. Now, that is a personal vehicle, light vehicle for us to travel in physicality. But those are the stargates and that sort of stuff. It's not, it's for physicality. Between dimensions and galaxies, a galaxy is a physicality. Somebody created that. That's why it's physical. Are there different stargates that are positioned around the world? Mm, my thoughts here, well, who created it? Somebody said, let's create one over here. Somebody said, let's create one over here. So the dark side creates all kinds of vehicles to get around in physicality. And the light is coming in and they're shutting all that stuff down. How can they shut it down if it's not physical? They can't do that. You can't shut things down if you're spiritual. If you are a spirit, it doesn't exist. That's why we're having a hard time with understanding the reality between physicality and spiritual. Call it spirituality. We have a real hard time with this. I'm I'm giving you some real good things to be thinking about here. Spirituality. That's who we really are. Spirits of prime creator, pure intelligence, pure love. It's not physical. We create things by taking matter unorganized and organizing it into something that it'll coalesce into a form that we wanted. And that's how creation happens. Matter unorganized. It's part of our tools. It's part of our playground. We can create whatever we want. Isn't that fun? And just think what happens when the dark side is gone and we as creators can create whatever we want. This place is going to be wonderful. It's going to be pure love that we're living in. And yet it will be physical if that's what we want, because we've taken matter and organized and we've created something with it. And that's how physicality is presented. or comes into reality. So are there different stargates? If somebody created them, then there they are. Isn't that fun? I suppose. The dark side really, really does know how to create things. However, they have to have the human to create it. And that's why they've taken over humanity, so that we create things for them. They couldn't create jet planes and bombs and that sort of thing, but create people. Humans can create that sort of thing. And that's what we did for those guys. We created it. Look at all of the corporations that do all that sort of stuff. Yeah. That's the result of taking over the humankind and using their creative powers to bring war and suffering and loosh, is that the right word to use? Fear. That's the energy of fear. And that's what they feed on. Now, the next question to ask is, are they human beings themselves? And if they are, then why can't they create it? Oh, maybe they're not real. They're not children of God. Otherwise, they wouldn't have control over us or try to establish control over us, and we create for their purposes. You got to understand who we really are. Everybody needs to understand who each individual human is. There are no other gods before humans. You are the gods that Prime Creator has created to do the creation. There you go. I hope this is not too far-fetched for people to understand. I'm trying to do the best that I can. Thank you for your indulgence with me. Let's move on to the next question.
Thank you, Ron. Very insightful as always. And we will be right back with another question from a member.